those same emotions. Maybe they don't come home and cry. Maybe they go home and hit the hammer on something, you know. But
Right.
we do have to pick ourselves back up and go back after it. And maybe I'm just a little bit old-fashioned, but I really appreciate having the dynamics of a female in situations as well as a male. You know, I'm a racer, off-road racer by trade, and I could imagine that if I were in an accident, how much more comforting it would be to have you come up and interview my wife as opposed to somebody asking about the vehicle, you know. So I really appreciate
Right.
that approach. And I think it does add a whole different dynamic to the situation. So I think that's great advice. Approach it, you know, like you would, right? Like with some emotion or what your role could be in the situation.
Right. Absolutely. And listen to people, and because people open up to you. Like if you're sincere, you have no idea how many times I've interviewed people and they've started to cry, and I feel so bad. Because, and here I am talking to some of the most successful business people that I've looked up to, and they're getting teary-eyed and all choked up, and they're like, man. And it's, first off, because I genuinely care about their story. Anytime I can hear somebody's story of success, I want to hear it. And I used to watch on VH1, they used to have like behind the music and stuff like that. And I used to watch those just to see how people made their career from like rags to riches, basically, right? How they started from nothing. And I learned about like Courtney Cox and how every time she made any money, she would invest it in a tiny little piece of real estate. And then she had all this like rental property. So when things were slow for her in the entertainment industry, she still had her real estate income coming in. And I did the exact same thing. So I try to learn off of how other people are successful. So listen to other people and genuinely care, and then they open up to you. They'll tell you everything.
I'm sure. You know, just looking at you from the outside, beyond what we might see on, you know, Wikipedia or something, you have a pretty fantastic Instagram page where it looks like you're just a jack of all trades fun from, you know, you mentioned in-pit reporting, but I see that you like cars and you've got sports and all kinds of neat stuff. Your life just seems so full of living. I love that.
Yeah, and that is what I try to do every single day, is just live life to the fullest. And it really is a gift to be alive every single day. And I tell people, if you're not happy with your life, you need to change it. And sometimes change is really scary. And there's been many times that I've made changes in my life, and it's been scary. It's scary to leave a job or take a new job or leave one thing, leave comfort, right? And go into something new. But I always tell people, happiness isn't something that's going to just come to you. And happiness isn't something that is just going to happen within time. You need to own it. You need to decide, I'm going to be happy, not I want to be happy. And whatever being happy to you means, you need to do it, because happiness doesn't just come to you. You need to go get it. You need to be happy. So, yeah, and that's also, if you look at my Instagram page, that's why I love always telling people, take advantage of whatever opportunity comes your way. And it was something that I always said since I was young, never say no to a job. Just say yes. And if you don't like it, you can always leave the job. You're not married to the job forever, right? Like, but try it and see where it takes you. Because even if it's not the right job for you, the opportunity can lead you into such a great experience that you'll be able to tell the story for years. You know, you never know what's going to happen out of that one time of just saying, all right, what the heck, I'll try it. All right, I'll do it. You don't have to sign on to do it again if you don't like it, but just try it.
Yeah, and it certainly seems like you've had your fair share of great experiences out there. You know, if there's a young female or male listening, what would be your advice to them? Because I know you told your story about packing up the car. I'm guessing that was right out of high school and coming out to California?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I was 19.
You kind of skipped some of the, you know, so many people are wrapped in that they got to go to college and get that 4-year degree. But, you know, it seems as if that wasn't the route you went on, and it's not the route that I went on either. But we've both had our share of success and through saying yeses to opportunities. But would you give the same advice, or what would your advice be today for somebody listening?
If they were to say, should I go to college or should I pursue my career?
Well, just Just in general, I mean, I think we all get wrapped up in you have to go to college, but I don't necessarily
what you're
think that's right
supposed
for
to
everybody.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel that there's no such thing as what you're supposed to do. The only thing you're supposed to do is what your heart tells you to do. Because sometimes I'm like, man, I should have gone to college and been a doctor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll get this amazing job opportunity, and I'm like, be a doctor? Are you kidding me? Why would I want to do that?
That sounds serious.
I'm on some beautiful island. Like, what? Why would I want to be a doctor? But there is a sense of, I feel like, being responsible that's put into your mind since you're a little kid. And if that is not for you, if you're a very creative person and you ever feel like, should I go to college or should I go pursue my dream? Go pursue your dream, because you can go to college at any time. You can get your degree at any point in your life, right? It's a little bit more difficult. But I remember when Deal or No Deal was coming to an end, my mom was like, please go get a degree. And I was like, Mom, do you understand? Like, let me just put it in a spreadsheet for you. This is how much money I'm going to be losing if I go to college and I quit working. And she was like, but can you maybe go part-time? And I was like, there's no going to school part-time, right? I'm not going to go take 2 classes and get my associate's degree in 8 years. Like, that's just a waste of everybody's time. And so I did. I ended up going to college full-time. And Jim, I was looking at these 18-year-old kids, and I was like, wow, school is wasted on the young. Like, these kids are 18 years old, and they can't turn in a paper on an opinion. Like, and their parents are probably paying for their schooling right now, and they show up like, how could you not turn in you have to have an opinion, right? Just turn in something. But I saw how much kids just don't care when they're young. They have so many other things on their mind that, honestly, I feel like if you want to go get your wiggles out, go get your wiggles out. Because when I went to college, I remember I got a 95 on a test, and I argued my way to getting 100 on my test.
Wow.
This is unacceptable. I was right. And just because I didn't say it in the words that you wanted, but you take so much more pride in your work. So, yeah, if your dream is to go do something else, go do it. You can always go to college. But just be ready to work really hard.
Yeah, sure. I love that you did a spreadsheet.
Oh, I did. It's hard to explain to parents, and it's sensitive to me now because, I have a 12-year-old stepson who I want him to go to college, and he wants to go to Stanford. And so I say, like, awesome. Every time he wants to, like, mess up in school, I'm always like, you think they're going to take somebody like that in Stanford? He's like, no, you're right. I better turn in my work. Like, so, but if he ever came to me, as much as I want him to go to college, if he ever came to me and said, I want to race cars for a living, or I want to go, become an environmentalist and go save the planet or something, I would fully support that, as long as I said to him, if that's what your heart wants to do and you're going to work hard at it, then do it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I had a guest on recently. His name is Ryan Carson. He started a company called Tea Tree, which is basically a trade school, and he feels the same about college and following your passion, and doing what you think is the best thing for you. And they actually teach coding, of all things, on the computer program.
Oh, wow.
And the careers that people can come out of from his school could be that $75,000 to $100,000 a year career. And it's just going through a basic training on coding. And he goes, look, we don't want people to get into debt in college, and how much, like you said, how much money you would lose going to college, right? And he felt this, he feels the same. So he actually created a business around that. But, I think that's excellent advice, to follow your heart and do what it tells you to do. I just love that. The other thing I noticed from following you is you just had an opportunity to be around some incredible people. As a brief example, your fantasy football on a cruise, you were out there with David Meltzer, who's actually my mentor, and Dan Fleshman, who I used to work with years ago from a sponsorship standpoint.
Yeah, so they postponed that cruise.
Ah.
So we haven't done it yet. Yeah, we haven't done it yet. They postponed it. But, yeah, it's going to be an incredible opportunity, and I love doing things like that because they have me as part of, like, the panel.
Yeah.
But sometimes I look around and I'm like, what? I get to work around these people? Like, and they pay me to do this? Because I should be paying to be here right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, David's been my mentor for the last 4 months, and he's just full of wisdom. And he's got a saying or what he likes to talk about is having more than enough. And I encourage you when you're on the cruise with him is just pick his brain. But, you think every morning of all the things that you have in your life that are more than enough. And we realize how quickly, how gifted we are and how much we do have here, especially living in the United States and all the opportunities and the things that surround us as opposed to where you can be in other countries. So I just love that mentality of his. And I think, where your career has taken you, it's allowed you to be around some spectacular people.
Yeah. Oh, it does. Absolutely. And I love that you told me that inside piece on him, because I'm definitely going to be picking his brain.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, woman. I'm going to be like, Jim told me. Jim told me all about you.
He'll know. Great individual. So what's next for you? Obviously, you've got satellite radio, and things are going great for you. Any plans in the future that you can share with people, or are you just cruising along?
I just cruise along. There was this billboard that I read years ago before I left San Antonio that said, if you want to see God laugh, tell him your plans. So I tried to not have too many more plans, but we're ramping up into, the start of football season. So I'm pretty much hunkered down into the world of fantasy sports on my radio show on the SiriusXM Fantasy Sports channel. But then, that always takes me everywhere because I end up hosting events for fantasy football. So yeah, it's just right now it's gearing up for the football season.
Well, you're getting prepared. And if somebody wants to follow you or track you down, what's the best way? Is that through social media and find out what you're doing and what events you're working?
Yeah, absolutely. My Instagram is just at Pilar Lastra, and Twitter I'm at Real Pilar Lastra.
And of course, we want everybody.
And then they can find me Thursday nights. They can find me on the SiriusXM Fantasy Sports channel. It's Sirius 210 XM 87, and the show's called Every Man's Fantasy. Yeah. With myself and Jeff Mann.
I've listened to that a few times. You guys do a fantastic job on that. I'm not a huge sports fan because I've got my hands full with my two little girls at home, but I do appreciate the work that you're doing there, and it is fun to listen to you when I'm on a late night drive home or something. So thank you so much for that. And
thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, so final words from you as we wrap up the show. You've given out some good advice to our listeners. Is there anything that you're kind of geeking out on right now? Just something macro? Like I'm really into listening to other people's podcasts right now. I've enjoyed that quite a bit, and you talked about doing some mulching. I have been enjoying my garden outside a lot. But you think you're kind of geeking out on right now that you could share with people?
As far as like what I'm geeking out right now in is literally learning how to try and deter squirrels from getting into my plants because they're tearing stuff up. That is what I spend my nights Googling. That and what can be an organic weed killer. I learned that the 30% vinegar will definitely kill weeds, but it will also kill your entire lawn as well. So I need something not as aggressive. Maybe I'm going to water it down a little bit. So yeah, that's what I've been geeking out on lately. I tried to take after my last job with the Pirelli World Challenge. Between jobs, you try to take as much time as you can off, and then just enjoy your family. I have my mom coming up next week. No, I have my mom coming out tomorrow. Not next week. She goes up tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I'll be taking her to Chicago, and you need to learn to just take a little bit of time out for yourself and enjoy your days off.
Well,
that's my advice to people.
That's great advice, and I knew I'd get something to laugh about. So, if you're listening, make sure you send her your advice on getting rid of the ground squirrels and the weed killers and all that.
Please.
Well, hey, it's been really good catching up with you. It was great to hear your voice on the show, and wish you the best in everything that you're doing. And I'm sure that people will pick up some great tips from you today on being on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on the show, and thanks so much for having the show. I think it's such a great inspiration for so many people, and so many other people can hear how other people have become successful. So thanks for doing this.
Yeah, we appreciate hearing you say that, and we'll just keep saying yes to things. So thanks again. All right, well, there you have it. Pilar's life story all in a nutshell here on the podcast. That's somebody that I'm just not going to get in the way of. She is determined, and she's not going to say no. She's going to say yes to everything and keep moving forward, and she has the success to back her answers. I love the fact that I caught her while she was outside mulching with her husband. of all things. So probably a well